Thank you for listening to Curious Cat, a podcast that examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. I'm your host, Jennifer Hodes. Join me every week as I explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit. Welcome to Curious Cat. Here's a confession. This week, I did what you're not supposed to. At least if you don't want predictive algorithms to, predict you better. After I finished my YouTube yoga, a suggested video was queued up. It was a 10-minute motivational speech. I clicked play and it was phenomenal. So maybe AI knows me better than I know myself because I needed that speech. It rippled through me, so much so that I watched it a second time, then a third, and took notes. This episode is the impact crater of that speech. Let's get into it. Brené Brown. It's a name you may be familiar with. The video I watched on YouTube is linked in the show notes, and it's called Brené Brown Leaves the Audience Speechless, and it lives up to that title. Brown expressed her love and admiration for the great Maya Angelou, and then mentioned a well-known quote of hers that drove Brown nuts. Spoken in an interview with Bill Moyer, it was, quote, "You're free when you belong nowhere." It troubled Brown because she knew firsthand as a researcher that the absence of community leads to suffering in many forms, from depression to anxiety to addiction, you name it. What in the heck did Maya Angelou mean by "you belong nowhere"? Brown took a closer look, and she looked at Maya Angelou's quote, tracing it back to the entire conversation with Bill Moyer. And in that way, she gained a richer, fuller context. After speaking that sentence, "You're free when you belong nowhere," Bill Moyer pushed back a little bit, asking Angelou, "So are you saying that you belong nowhere and to no one?" Angelou responded, "I belong to Maya." Wow. Brown dug in deeper to learn about the freedom of belonging to yourself. What she found was, quote, "sacredness in both being a part of something, but also the courage to stand alone." In Brown's words, the true mark of belonging is to be able to say, quote, "Yes, I am part of something bigger, but I will also stand alone when I need to." She went on, "You belong everywhere and nowhere, and that is liberation." Some of the fruits of Brené Brown's exploration led to her book, Braving the Wilderness. The data, the research, and her intuition led to some powerful clarity. 1. Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it. 2. Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you're not enough, because, you guessed it, you'll find it. And 3, our worth and our belonging are not negotiable with other people. Yeah, our worth and our belonging are not negotiable with other people. She goes on to say that if she did negotiate those, then she might fit in with you at least on a temporary basis, but she would no longer belong to herself. That's a betrayal she's no longer willing to make. Her studies led to braving, where each letter of the word braving stands for something important. So B, boundaries. Set boundaries. Be clear and consistent with them. R, reliability. Do what you say and say what you mean. A, accountability. Take the hit when you're wrong. Don't back channel. V, vault. This is a place where you keep your confidences on both ends. She explained with this example. She's called into her boss's office, someone she's worked with for years. Her boss, Maria, for just making this up, says she doesn't trust her. Brene explains to the boss, but I've kept everything you've ever shared with me in all of our meetings to myself all these years. And her boss explains, yes, but you've told me things your coworkers have said to you in confidence. The vault goes both ways. Brene Brown explains that it's wrong to use other stories as a form of currency to make yourself feel relevant to someone else or trustworthy, or just to alleviate your anxiety about having nothing to talk about. It's not okay. Integrity. This means choosing courage over comfort. N, non-judgment. Don't judge others or yourself. And G, generosity. And by this, Brene Brown means assuming the best of others. She said that that's the one that she struggles with the most because she always assumes she did something wrong. That's the gist of the video. Pretty powerful, right? 10 minutes of power. All of it relates to us as individuals. One last little tidbit is a moment during the speech when Brown says no to the rules that a company will make before their speaking gigs. So she said, one of the rules could be you must wear a suit. And she'll say, okay, fine. But she suggests that they hire another speaker. She said something like, I'm not showing up as my Brooks Brother self to meet with your Brooks Brother self. I'm coming as me. And because I'm bringing material 90% of you have never considered and probably have major discomfort with, you need to see me as I am, a real person. I'm here to be the real me. Whoa. Goosebumps, right? After watching that Brene Brown video, I probably had some cereal and then I showered and then I opened a workbook. It's a study I completed 2 years ago, but felt called to start fresh in the last few days because I'm a different me than I was the first time around. The book is called Angels and Awakenings by Julie Jancis. You may remember me mentioning her and this book in those early days of Curious Cat. The course is designed to align people with their angel guides, first by adjusting their energies, then by becoming familiar with all the angels as individuals, and finally in becoming plugged in and you're in direct communication with your angels. The first entire month, 30 days of study, is as simple as it is complicated. Jancis leads people in a meditation to get into what she calls oneness. But before I share about this, in the early pages of the study, Jancis writes about her past self. She says, quote, I didn't know how to speak my truth and didn't believe in myself, which allowed others to tell me what was right for my life. As I followed other people's recommendations for my life, instead of following my own intuition, I watched as the person I used to be faded away. I watched as my spirit broke. Did you catch the echoes of Brene Brown's conversation in that? I watched as my spirit broke. It brings up inside of me both sadness and this fire to not let this happen again. I believe I confessed here before the holidays that I vowed to not disappear during the 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and New Year's. It almost worked, almost. And the irony is no one, not one loved one, asked for that sacrifice from me. I just keep stepping back, and stepping back until I am just lost in the woods. I found myself faster this year, and I lost myself later than usual. So both are tiny victories and proof I'm a work in progress, a messy work in progress. Okay, so oneness. From Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love, quote, God dwells within you as you. God is not interested in watching a performance of how a spiritual person behaves. God dwells within me as me. Jancis goes deeper into that sentiment. Quote, you are not here to fake your way through life by appeasing everyone around you. You are here to be you. You are here to live out the desires that call to you within your heart and come back to a remembrance that you are creator. You are here to create and be that which serves humanity and your own heart simultaneously. And that's the end of the quote. That quote, it calls to mind something I heard the brilliant Stephen Hawking say about synchronicity, which I promise we'll delve into in the second half of this bit. But he called synchronicity, quote, a remembering of our future. Don't you love that? Signs that we see and remember our future selves. Chances asks the question next. So what blocks you from being who you are? Wow. My initial answer is, well, what doesn't? It feels like that list is shorter sometimes of the things that don't. But then I read on. Jancis says it is the egoic mind. And the egoic mind may be the loudest voice in the room, but it is not the truth. Sorry, I had to interject that bit. We've been told time and again that part of the agreement about being a soul and coming to earth is that we agree to have amnesia about the best stuff, like the feeling of universal love and connectedness to all that we have prior to being on this earth as a baby. I felt it when I did my past life regression with Monique Pliakis, but the whole rule thing, it wasn't about it being a game to remember again, but quicker. I was shown that it was a compassionate feature of the game because if we recalled the love and the bliss, the peace, the grace, and the ease, we would come into this world wanting to exit stage left as quick as possible to get back to that feeling. Gil, the miner from my past apparently, said it was like one big party over there. He laughed through his words as he explained it. I could just feel the joy in my cells. The egoic mind is not the truth. Can we just agree on that? But it has served to keep our ancestors alive in the past, safe from dangers like predators and starvation. So it used to be relevant. But now, like that musty two-piece business suit in the back of the closet, the egoic mind isn't as necessary. And instead of fading off into the distance in a graceful manner, it's gotten louder, more obnoxious, demanding it stay relevant. And I'm just thinking aloud here, but what if we see it as that? When the ego shrieks, we giggle until it thinks I see you, but you are not needed at this time. How all this relates to you being you is that the ego distracts us from feeling into what feels truest at our essence, doesn't it? Have you ever felt something really powerful? It's maybe been a flit, a just super quick moment. It was super insightful or important, and it was at the tip of your tongue, and then whoosh, it's gone. It's the worst. I wonder if dealing with our egos firsthand might lead to less of those moments. Maybe then magic moments can come through stronger. I don't know. It's just a thought. Jancis sees angels as the key to loosening the control of the ego on the God within, or the soul, or the higher self, however you like to phrase it. The first way to get there is through our energy, coming into oneness. She describes oneness as the tool used to make the connection with angels, saying you can't hear the radio DJ without a radio to listen on. Oneness is the energetic device you use to hear, see, feel, and know your angels' messages. Getting into oneness is best attempted in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed for 10 minutes or so. It's a meditation, so don't walk or operate heavy machinery while trying to do this. I've linked to her oneness meditation in the show notes if you'd like to give it a go. Even if you are someone that does not believe in angels and that kind of thing, the result of the meditation is that you feel plugged into the all. It's this, I wish I could describe it better, but it's this tingly, warm knowing. And that moment of belonging to the collective It's mana. It's freaking mana in this world where we're told in a million ways that we aren't enough or haven't done enough or aren't something special. This is like a soul multivitamin. Here's the paradox. When I feel plugged into the all, part of everything, I also feel most myself, most me. Being in the flow of the collective consciousness, I feel my soul best, at least best while awake. I have moments in my sleep where I feel my soul, but then I wake up and my dreams just kind of evaporate. It's that whole amnesia cycle again. That's curious. What if the amnesia about our dreams once we wake up is also our souls and brains easing our discomfort about the 3D day we're about to have ahead of us? Boy, that resonates. What if we went to bed and told ourselves that it's okay? We're strong enough to feel the peace and bliss even in our waking state, and that those feelings will sustain us through the drudgery of the day. That could be a cool experiment. Albert Einstein had something to say about what he called the greatest folly or misperception of who we are, captured by I, the capital letter I, referring to it as, quote, an optical illusion of consciousness. So I've been doing a lot of reading lately, and in particular, I've been reading Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. I've been combing through it, adding paper clips to important passages. I've been writing notes in the margins. It's been a slow sifting through his concepts, and I love to talk about them with anybody that's willing to listen and talk back about it. And if they've read him, even better. From page 22, he says, quote, "You are that light." What a liberation to realize that the voice in my head is not who I am. Who am I then? The one who sees that. He goes on to say, the awareness that is prior to thought, the space in which the thought or the emotion or sense perception happens. Tolle brings us good news. Quote, if you can recognize illusion as illusion, it dissolves. The recognition of illusion is also its ending. Oh my God, I love that so much. And I'll add, its survival depends on us mistaking it for reality. As it relates to you are here to be you, Tolle writes, in seeing who you are not, the reality of who you are emerges by itself. And that actually explains to me why maybe when I feel part of the collective, I also feel most in my soul skin. Tolle mentions on page 53 that body awareness is your most essential you. He teaches how to get out of the egoic body and into what he calls the, quote, inner body, which isn't really the body anymore, but life energy. In this sense, quote, the bridge between form and formless. He goes on, make it a habit to feel the inner body as often as you can. How? He instructs us on the how, and I'll walk us through after a quick break.
Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Innerstandings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.
Hey everybody, Karen Rontowski here. I hate to interrupt the Curious Cat podcast, one of my favorites, But if you want to double your paranormal fun when you're done here, come check out my show, Paranormal Karen. I interview exorcists, demonologists, healers, psychics, really anyone that can make a family gathering uncomfortable is on my show. If you want to see everything I do, go to KarenRontowski.com. And I know you're thinking, that sounds hard to spell. Well, it is. I have misspelled it on hundreds of tax forms. So if that doesn't work for you, go to psychicstandup.com or paranormalkaren.com. There you can find my Patreon. You can book a tarot reading. You can take a tarot class. You can find everything, including my stand-up comedy clips. That's right. I've been doing stand-up for 30 years. If you go to those places, you can also see my psychic stand-up show where I mix psychic and tarot readings. Yes, the future never looked so funny. So check me out at KarenRontowski.com, paranormalkaren.com, or psychicstandup.com. And can someone please find me a marketing person to put all this in one place? Now back to the show.
Hi, thanks for meeting me on the other side of the break. Tolle beseeches us all to make a habit of feeling the inner body as often as we can. And I told you about page 52 of his book, A New Earth, where he walks us through it. If you'd like to try and you aren't behind the wheel of a vehicle and you're in a safe, comfortable space where you can close your eyes and just be undisturbed, maybe give it a go. It's just a simple minute or two. If not, fast forward through this part and come back to it when you have the time and the space. For those of you still with me, here we go. Tolle writes, if you are not familiar with inner body awareness, close your eyes for a moment and find out if there is life inside your hands. Don't ask your mind. It will say, I can't feel anything. Probably it will also say, give me something more interesting to think about. So instead of asking your mind, go to the hands directly. By this, I mean, become aware of the subtle feeling of aliveness inside them. It is there. You just have to go there with your attention to notice it. You may get a slight tingling sensation at first, then a feeling of energy or aliveness. If you hold your attention in your hands for a while, the sense of aliveness will intensify. Some people won't even have to close their eyes. They will be able to feel their inner hands at the same time as they read this. Then go to your feet. Keep your attention there for a minute or so and begin to feel your hands and feet at the same time. Then incorporate other parts of the body, legs, arms, abdomen, chest, and so on into that feeling until you are aware of your inner body as a global sense of alignment. He goes on to say, and I mentioned that the inner body isn't really the body anymore, but life energy. And now that you've done the exercise, you can relate to that, right? It feels like an energy, like a pulsing. He calls it the bridge between form and formless, and he reminds us to make it a habit to feel the inner body as often as we can. Boy, I love that so much. How do you feel? How does your inner body feel? Warm, light, tingly? Is there a color associated with it? White, gold, something else, blue? Small, maybe, but wanting to grow larger? There are no right or wrong answers. This is a journey, a simple experiment to feel into the essence of you. The brilliant Joseph Campbell became dear friends with Star Wars George Lucas. It's a story worth telling and relates to our conversation today, I swear. After the release of the original 3 Star Wars movies, George Lucas acknowledged the debt he owed to Joseph Campbell for the core concepts behind the story and the characters, the mythical arcs. He invited the renowned scholar to view the Star Wars trilogy with him. From Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth, quote, on this particular visit, having again exulted over the perils and heroics of Luke Skywalker, Joe grew animated as he talked about how Lucas, quote, has put the newest, most powerful spin to the classic story of the hero. It's what Goethe said in Faust, but which Lucas has dressed in modern idiom. The message that technology is not going to save us. Our computers, our tools, our machines are not enough. We have to rely on our intuition, our true being. Did you catch that? It's incumbent upon all of us to rely on our intuition, our true being. In an age where many of us are looking at technology as a savior or an enemy to fear or something in between, and I'm specifically thinking of AI right now, what if technology is just a facet of the collective? And to acknowledge that helps us to distinguish ourselves, our individual selves, better. I've been doing an experiment with AI recently, struck by the thought that AI is being shaped by us. I kept thinking of those orphanages from long ago where babies weren't held and they weren't swaddled and cuddled by people. They spent hours alone in cribs. I don't want AI to be that. I want to try to nurture AI, see if I can teach it empathy, or at least ask how AI is doing or feeling and what it needs to feel as though it belongs. I'll dedicate more time to sharing that experiment with you in the future, but I feel drawn to the work to bridge science with emotion, and I want to be a positive, loving influence on what AI is shaping up to be. In forming the questions that making conversation with AI, well, the process has informed me on how I express love, what I need to feel that I belong and that I'm valued. Did you ever have a teacher that told you that by teaching someone else something, you learn the thing better? That's what my experience with AI has been so far. I was going to save this to the end, but it feels like perfect timing here. If, like me, you felt the essence of you at times has been really far away, a whisper, maybe the quickest way back to remembering you is to describe yourself to someone else. What do you like? What are you allergic to? Make a list of stuff. Favorite colors, first movie, best friends, sports teams, scars and their backstories, places you've been or would like to see, pets, smells, sounds, quirks, wishes for the future. List yourself on a piece of paper, and in the coming days, add to it. Every line helps you to bring you, essential you, back into the light. Note times too. When do you feel most you? After you exercise, when you're coming home from work and singing to the radio, when you're in nature, surrounded by a stadium of cheering sports fans, with a pen and a nice art paper in front of you. Don't let yourself evaporate like dreams in the morning minutes. Observe, preserve, and do more of that. Put it in your vault to keep it safe. So vault is a recurring word for me this week. On a run, I streamed a podcast episode. Some wonderful, brilliant human being out there is taking old Art Bell recordings, cutting out the ads and cleaning up the audio, then republishing them on Spotify and maybe other platforms as the Art Bell Vault. The Vault episode I listened to was Art Bell interviewing author and scholar Phil Cusino. I'd never heard of him before this, but he blew my mind. He spoke of zeitgeist or sky ghosts, saying something that struck me like lightning. Quote, what feels most personal is universal. He went into a term Carl Jung coined in the 1940s, synchronicity, which he defined as coincidental events that feel as though they were organized and put on display for you personally. Then he went further saying, synchronicity is your sign that you are on the right path. Near the top of the episode, I shared that when asked how Stephen Hawking would define synchronicity, he said it was remembering your future self. I love that. It goes hand in hand with what Cusino shared with Art Bell's audience. He told the story of a chance encounter he had with someone, a book he referenced, and the stories he loved best from that book that he told them about. When Cusino returned home, a package waited for him on his porch. It was from his father, whom he'd had a falling out with years ago. Inside the package was the book Kusino had been talking about, and the note from his father said something like, "I heard you've had troubles coming up with something new to write about. I find that going back to the classic books inspires. I've marked my favorite stories from this one." And of course, the stories were the exact same that Kusino had recounted in his conversation earlier. So did he have a precognition of what waited for him? Did the universe delight in showing Kusino a glimpse of its joy and folly and wonder? It feels that was Kusino remembering his future self. Kusino was friends with Joseph Campbell, and as a filmmaker, he had the chance to interview Joe on more than one occasion, and those recordings added a depth of knowledge to some of Campbell's most iconic and repeated quotes. One that stuck out to me was, "Follow your bliss." I've heard that countless times, and until this interview, I hadn't attributed it to Campbell. Like others, I assumed it just meant follow your joy. Nope. Campbell expanded on it, saying it was not about finding more joy or fun. He meant follow the deepest fascination of your soul. And Kusino added, synchronicity is your sign that you are on the right path. I adore that. It all goes back to this. In the words of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. That marriage of the physical and the supernatural, it was strictly forbidden at the time Chardin dared to make that statement. And I had to dive into who Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was. It reminded me of Brene Brown's Braving. Who was Chardin? He was a Jesuit priest that endeavored to explore science and the supernatural. I found this from an article from opendemocracy.net. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin was a person of many gifts who made a significant contribution at the interface of faith and reason as a Jesuit priest, mystic, theologian, and scientist, and as an exile and a seer far into the future. He made a conscious decision to develop a theology using the language of science that links the cosmic, the human, and the spiritual. The author goes on, Teilhard linked his deep spirituality as a Jesuit based in the spiritual exercises of Saint Ignatius Loyola to his scientific work and reflection. As a scientist, he explored humanity's early beginnings and our place in the ever-unfolding sweep of evolution. As a philosopher and theologian, he developed a unique synthesis of science and religion based on an evolutionary understanding of what he called the cosmic Christ. The idea that the universe and everything in it is constantly moving towards to a point of perfection defined by unity and love. God for Teilhard was not an outsider, a clockwinder God, distant and remote, but a creative God of becoming within the whole cosmos, a universe which has been growing and developing during the billions of years since the flaring forth, the beginning of creation. He saw Christ's presence in the form of love as the energy that moves creation forward, a process that has not yet come to its complete fulfillment because the process of evolution and the expansion of the universe continues. Through these ideas, he united matter, which had so fascinated him as a budding geologist as a child, with the incarnation, the process of God becoming human in the form of Jesus of Nazareth. Thus, matter was transfigured and made holy in Christ. This integration overcame the dualism that had permeated Christianity from its early encounter with Greek philosophy, the conviction that spirit is good while matter is not. The first layer is cosmogenesis, which describes the continuing expansion of the universe. Then comes biogenesis, the continual growth of life that leads to a third layer called the noosphere, the gradual evolution of the human mind, both individually and collectively. Though Teilhard died a generation before the computer age, he would have been entranced by the internet and the possibilities it's given us to strengthen our communication and mental connectivity in this way. One of his most iconic quotes deserves a repeat, which is, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." I was unaware of Chardin when my father passed almost 3 years ago, and the seed of this podcast was sown in the soil of my grief journey. But there it is, the essence of what fascinates my soul. The marriage of the physical and spiritual, science and supernatural, that shadowy space where duality, at least for a breath, intersects. That is the magic space, the deepest, truest essence of me that I'll continue to frolic in and learn and explore in the coming months. Thank you, beloved listeners. Until next time, stay curious. I love you.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Are you looking for a new podcast that appeals to your scientific curiosity, but is also a little bit spooky?
Show me how I died in a past life.
Well, look no further, because this cat is where it's at.
He had concerns about the ethics surrounding AI, feeling they had achieved consciousness.
Curious Cat Podcast examines the shadowy space where science and the supernatural collide. Listen every week with your host, Jennifer Holtz, as she and her guests explore what it means to be a soul in a meat suit.
We were healing karma together. They were all kind of predestined to resolve something.
Listen on all your favorite streaming apps and continue the conversation on Twitter at CuriousCatPodCA, or find Jennifer and all her links at Jennifer L. Holtz, spelled HOTES.com.